There was a man who lived in the Bronx, New York. He lived in the outskirts of this borough, and he lived in a little house, didn't have much, never grew up with a lot. His parents weren't alive, didn't have a lot of family around him, never got married, and he never had many possessions. He was poor. He was poor. Always was bouncing from job to job. And at a certain point in his life, a lawyer for a hospital came to his door, knocked on his door and said, hey man, we want to build a hospital, and part of that hospital we want to plan and make is going to be on your property. We'd love to buy the property from you, and so we can build this hospital. And he said, okay, well, how much? And they said $250,000. Now, this was more money than this guy had ever seen. This is more money than this guy ever had. He never had many possessions. He didn't own a car. This guy had nothing. Not a lot in his life. He said, okay, well, are they willing to work with me on a price? And the lawyer for the hospital said, yeah, we can work with you a little bit. And he said, okay, well, come back with a better price. So they wait 2 months. 2 months go by, comes back, said, okay, we want to offer you $300,000. $50,000 more dollars. Again, this is more than this guy had. He was working some low-level job. Again, he was barely scraping 2 nickels together. And he said, I feel like I want a little more. He said, okay, let me go back to the hospital and see what we're willing to pay you. Go back, $500,000. Now, this guy from the Bronx, this literally is more money than he's ever made in his entire life. He said, wow, $500,000. He said, you know what? All right, this is going to be my retirement plan. This is going to be my retirement plan. So I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to try to squeeze a couple more dollars out of the hospital, and then I'm just going to retire. I'm going to move out of here. I'm going to move somewhere to some tropical island. I don't have any family. I don't have a wife. I'm just going to move there to some place with this money. And he said, you know what, $500,000 is not enough. And the lawyer at this point is kind of getting a little nervous. He's like, hey, listen, man, the hospital, they want to start building. And we're not going to negotiate with you a lot more. And he's saying the board of this hospital, they're pretty angry at you. You've squeezed them out for some money. You need to take this deal. And the guy said, all right, well, you know what? I want a little more money. And I think, I want a little more money. So go back to the board and tell them that I want some more, and then, we'll make a decision. So a couple more months roll by. This guy literally has barely any savings. He's quit his job. He has nothing. He's banking on this money to retire, live his life, and never worry about money again. The lawyer comes back to the guy's house and he says, okay, this is the final offer. $850,000. $850,000. That's what we're going to offer you as the final offer. And this guy, he never sniffed this much money. This would be more than he ever needed. He's older in his life. This could last him a lifetime if he invested it well, spent it well, and used it well. And this guy, again, this is a poor guy, and he said, you know what? He started getting this sense, and he said, I want to be a millionaire. He said, I want to be a millionaire. My whole life I dreamed of being rich, and this is my chance to become a millionaire. Now, he could have used that money to become a millionaire through investments or whatever byproducts, but he wanted $1 million from the hospital because he said, you guys have it. You guys have money. What is another couple $100,000 to a guy like me? So he says, the lawyer says, you know what? Go back to the hospital and tell him I want to be a millionaire, and I want that to be $1 million. That's my final price. And the lawyer was like, listen, man, do not do this. Do not do this. And he goes, hey, listen, you guys need my land. You need my house. You can't build, you can't build here without using my house. So, you know what? I'm the one in position of power here. And the lawyer's like, they are fed up with you. Please don't do this. And the man said, you know what? But that's my final offer. I want to be a millionaire. I want to have $1 million. And so go back and tell them that's what I want. Now, mind you, again, this guy, a little house on the outskirts of the Bronx, never had this much money, barely could scrape 2 nickels together, did quit his job, had no family, but he wanted to be a millionaire. So the lawyer goes back, talks to the board, and a month later comes back to the man and he says, hey, I just want to say, the deal is off. The deal is done. We decided that you were too much trouble and we're going to find another place to build. We already found it. We already paid the people to build it in the area, and there's no more deal. You get $0. And the guy was like, heartbroken. The guy was completely struck dumb because he thought he had all the leverage. And he said, I want to be a millionaire. And now he gets $0. He quit his job. He has no family. He has no job. He has nothing. And he couldn't even afford to live in his house. And his house anymore. He couldn't afford, his mortgage. So he had nothing now. Now he had to move out of his house. And he never had that much money, never had anything close to that. And he got the sniff of money and being a millionaire and being rich. And he said, I want more. I want more. It wasn't enough for him. $250,000 wasn't enough for him. $500,000, $850,000 wasn't enough. He said, I want more. I want to be a millionaire. I want to have that status. And he got zero from it. And I heard this story on a podcast recently, and I thought it was a really, really powerful meditation on us as humans and our attachment to money and how we want to use money for security, but we want to use it and we want more and more and more, and what can really satisfy us in life. If someone said to you right now, hey, here's $250,000, there'd be some emotional response. I know I would be like, all right, let's go. We're going to go on a trip. We're going to buy this. We're going to invest it. We're going to, I'd be really excited. If someone said, maybe a little more haggling, you can get $500,000. But if you haggle too much, maybe you're going to get zero. It's hard not to want more. I know, maybe 300,000, can I get that from you? And it's really tough because money has such an emotional response from all of us. So this story, again, and I paraphrased it a little bit, but it's basically that a guy got hung up on becoming a millionaire, even though he never had anything in his life. But he said, I want to be a millionaire. And then lost everything, lost his house, lost the chance for any money, his retirement, anything he could have lived on the rest of his life because he said, I want to be money, and he got greedy. And again, let's not point fingers at this guy. The point of the story is not to say, hey, look at this guy, look how a dumb decision that was, because we all have money decisions to make. We all have these choices to make. And I know for one, it would be hard not to try to get every penny I can because I want to hold on to, because I want to feel secure with money. So I'm not here to point fingers. The story is supposed to illustrate the power that money can have on us as humans, and that can have on our souls and our hearts. And there's a spiritual side of it too, because we know that one part of us is supposed to trust God with everything. Trust God with our souls, our minds, our physical needs, and He'll provide us everything. But then on the other hand, it's like, well, money buys us stuff, and stuff makes us feel secure, stuff makes us feel comforted, money makes us feel like we're in control, that we can, build our life and have the things that make us feel secure, and not going to be, have things taken away. And it can build a comfort life. We want to seek that comfort with money. And so God says, hey, give me your soul, and I'm going to give you everything. And, it can feel very spiritual, not very physical. So then I think it's easy for us to run to money to say, hey, money, God's taking care of my spiritual needs. You take care of all my physical needs. And, house, car, things, vacation, security, 401k, just the simple things, just simple things in life. And we run to money for our physical needs. But Jesus wants everything. He wants all of our heart. He says, hey, all that money, that's mine. And you are going to be a good steward of that money, the money I give you. But we're supposed to trust Him with our money, our security, our comfort, everything. And that's a really, really hard part of living in our culture nowadays, which is such a culture of abundance, such a culture of more, such a culture of never being satisfied. So that guy in the Bronx who, got greedy, he's all of us. That's like Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. That's not just Adam and Eve's sin, that's our sin. And so that guy in the Bronx, that's a representation of all of us, of how we want more, and it's never enough, and how we're never satisfied. Or it's hard to be satisfied, not never satisfied, but it's hard to be satisfied because we always want a little more. And then once we hit that plateau, we just want a little bit more. We just want a little more, and then I'll feel secure. Then I'll feel happy. Once I have my house, then I'll feel happy. Once I have a car, then I'll feel happy. But I might need a newer car if that, car gets old. Once I have this, then I'll get happy. It's this fallacy of the destination, or the fallacy of the goal, where it's like, once I get to that destination, then I can be happy. And money is a huge part of that for a lot of us, where we think I just need this amount to make money, this amount of money to make, then I can be happy, because then, I'll give money to the church, but I need that to feel secure for me. But Jesus is calling us for a full takeover. a full takeover of our souls, our minds, to provide us with every little bit of our spiritual and physical needs. And he wants to be the Lord over all of us and the Lord of our money. And we are supposed to give that to him. And that is so, so hard. So why do I bring this up? Well, I don't know if you've seen in the news recently this LIV Golf and PGA Golf story. I don't know if many of you are golf fans or not, but I'll kind of explain a little bit of the scenario. And I'm not an expert, so go listen to a golf podcast for your kind of a deep dive. But LIV Golf was this Saudi-funded golf company that basically had a ton of money, and they were going to pay PGA golfers to come play in their league, and they were going to make these different events and change some of the gameplay, and basically they're going to pay a ton of money to PGA golfers to come play for this new Saudi league. And the accusations that were kind of lodged against the LIV Golf and the Saudi league is that they were using the Saudis were using this LIV Golf to kind of sports wash or to clean their reputation for maybe some other human rights violations that they've had through the years. Not going to get into that. I'm not an expert at geopolitical, policy and current events, but that was what was lobbied against them. And then the PGA, which is kind of like this organization that is like has a strong brand and it's like loyalty and there's stories and prestige with it. The minute that LIV Golf offered some of the best golfers in the PGA Tour a ton of money, these golfers just went and played for the LIV Golf tournament. And there was a lot of back and forth. Oh, should they not? Should they? It's money. It's their decision, their career. There's no loyalty. And again, go look at Golf Podcast or ESPN or something to kind of get the background on Rory and Tiger and why they said LIV Golf's bad, and why Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau, why they say, okay, LIV Golf is good. But the conversation was that, like, hey, money just very easily bought these players to go play for the Saudis, to give up on the PGA brand, the prestige that they've all made a ton of money from. And then the PGA Tour, the kind of officials and the executives within the PGA Tour, were very critical of LIV Golf. So out of nowhere last week, this news comes out that LIV Golf and PGA Tour are merging. And people were very upset because they felt like the PGA Tour, who was very critical of the Saudis and LIV Golf, and very critical even using 9/11 as a ammunition for their argument against the Saudis, to say, hey, like, there is blood in the hands of those who are helping these people in this and with LIV Golf. And then they merged, and people were very critical of PGA Tour because they felt like they just took a ton of money and now they're going to make the two one or whatever they're going to do. But it felt like, hey, everyone has a price. It was kind of a very dirty story because it was very visible of saying people who are already very rich and who are at the height of their profession are just getting bought by money, by incredible sums of money. And, people say everyone has a price. Money talks. These are very common things that we hear. And it's a crazy story because it's hard not to think that hey, you could be so critical of someone one day and for a year saying these are the worst people ever who are ruining our company. And then the second that they offer you a ton of money, you just go, okay, well, let's join forces. Again, this is not to point fingers at people to say, hey, I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have taken the money because you know what? Yeah, like I've never been in this scenario. I don't know what I would do and sacrifice, a ton of money for my family and future kids and the good I could do with it to a principled stand. I don't know. I hope I would say maybe no to the money. I would have principles, but I've never had that scenario. So this is not to point fingers at people for taking a huge sum of money against good principles. It's to say, hey, like, we all need to be good stewards of money, the money that comes in our lives and the money that we have in our lives, and be good stewards because, remember, it's the Lord's money. So, like, we're not all going to have this opportunity to have Saudi princes offer us a ton of money. But let's remember that we all have money decisions. We all are feeling that effects of money and the emotions connected with money in our lives every day. Whether it's financial planning of our future or it's buying, groceries or going out to dinner, we're all having money decisions. And we all know that feeling of, looking at your bank account, it's lower than you want it to be. Or you swipe your card at a dinner and it was more expensive than you want it to be. We all know that feeling of losing money. We are called as Christians to trust God with our money. It's very, very hard. And tithing is a great way to show our trust to God. That God, you are in control of my money. You are in control of your money. I'm just a steward of it. Tithing is a great month in, month out, week in, week out, whatever you do, way to show God that, God, you are the Lord of my life and you are the Lord of my money. And, it's kind of different than feeling generous. The generous is a feeling like, hey, I'm really generous. I made a bunch of money this month, so I'm going to, buy you all a round of drinks. Tithing is that like kind of very robotic, operation of just, hey, it's a function. Every month I tithe 10%, or 5%, whatever you feel God's calling you to do. And tithing is a great way to take the emotions out of giving money to God. It's just like, Lord, I'm offering you my money. Every month, good or bad, I'm offering you 10%. And it's a great way to trust God. It's a great trust exercise with God. And a really crazy story of mine where I grew in trusting in the Lord with money was a couple years ago. And it involves tithing, the power of tithing, and trusting in God with every part of my life. So I moved down to Texas about 4 years ago, and I, was looking for work. I moved down here. I quit a job in New York City to move down here to marry Tanya and to start a life down here. And I was looking for work. I had some side gigs I was doing. I was doing some copywriting, some video production, video editing, some side gigs as I moved down here. But it wasn't, a secure 9-to-5 with benefits, kind of that job that I was looking for. And, this is 2019, so this is pre-pandemic, so the job market was a little different, where it was pretty cold. There was, not a lot of movement in the job market. So I moved down in the summer of 2019, praying to God, all right, Lord, everything's working out. Everything's working great. I got, the wife on the way. We got the apartment. I got life settled down there. We're going to start our married life together. And I just need that job. That's the final piece for kind of my life to be ready to go. That was kind of my prayer. Like, Lord, I just need that job, and I'm going to be ready to go, ready to live a great life, ready to follow you, Lord. And, so I'm praying for a job. I'm doing side work on the way to kind of provide, and, Tanya's working, but, doing jobs and, making money, but, it's not enough. It wasn't enough for me. And I was called to, I felt called to, keep trusting in God. I felt God to say, hey, draw closer to me. Draw closer to me. Okay, got it, God. I'm going to draw closer to you. Need that job, but I'm going to draw closer to you. So we get married, 2019 comes. I'm doing some side work. Nothing's really happening. I'm interviewing with people. Nothing, make a final interview. Oh, sorry, no job. And, I started getting a little frustrated. It's 2019. Okay, I've, a couple jobs, a couple months without a secure job, just this side work. And, it wasn't great, not feeling great about it. 2020 comes, the beginning of 2020. And, okay, same thing, still, doing some side hustles. It's good, it's providing, Tanya's also working, it's a little bit, but, still looking for that job. Interviews. Yeah, well, a little bit about me is, I'm a hard worker, a lot of that stuff. And then all of a sudden, March of 2020, like a lot of us, the entire world just goes to a standstill and pandemic happens. So then there's no jobs. So then everything is frozen. There's no jobs, there's no interviews. So I still have a little bit of side work, but okay, I can ride this out, seeing where this goes, this side work, but I not sure. I still want a job. I still want that job. But at the beginning of this year, kind of taking a step back, I felt God say to me, draw closer to me again. Draw closer to me. And a way that he said that to me was, I want you to tithe. Okay, so January 2020, God's like, I want you to tithe. Okay, 10% of what I make. It's not much, but I still got some jobs, so I'll tithe. So I tithe. Okay, February, same thing. Looking for jobs, no jobs. Side work, I want you to tithe. Okay, I tithe 10%. March comes, whole world shuts down. I want you to tithe. Okay, April comes, no jobs, no interviews. I want you to tithe. Okay, I tithe. May, June, July, pandemic's on fire. You all remember it. And I felt God say, draw closer to me. I want you to tithe. I have something for you. I'm like, okay, Lord, I know you got something for me, but I'm feeling the burn right now. The burn is real. Do you really have something for me? Because, I am starting to stress right now. Because I had a client, he's like, hey, pandemic's killing me, can't afford any of this video production anymore. Okay, boom, another client, can't afford this video production anymore, I'm barely holding on as it is. Okay, drops me. Now I'm really starting to feel the burn. Okay, same thing, August, September comes, I want you to tithe. Okay, so I tithe. I'm just like, okay, I'm tithing. It's not easy, but I'm tithing. I'm saying novenas. I'm praying, I'm networking, I'm emailing, I'm doing job interviews. Yeah, hard worker, dedicated, excited to kind of bring us out of the pandemic right here. I am excited to work for you guys. I was doing anything. I hit up everyone, every job, you name it. I was interviewing. Everything is shut down. Everything is closed. And all I felt God say to me was, I have something for you. Draw closer to me. Make sure that you tithe. Okay, so tithe. October rolls around. November rolls around. I'm tithing. No jobs. Another client drops. Another client drops. And at this point, I have one client left. It's not a lot of money. I'm feeling like super down on myself because it's like, I want to be able to provide. I want to have a job. I feel like I'm talented. I'm starting to have, these self-conscious thoughts of maybe I'm not good enough for this or that or for a job, or how come I can't get anything? Why is this happening to me? A lot of inward thinking, a lot of pity for myself. Okay, like what, this system is rigged against me. But I felt God saying to me, tithe, draw closer to me, and I want you to tithe. I have something for you. And I'm like, okay, I am trying over here, Lord, but it's really hard to trust that God was going to provide the physical needs for me because I wasn't seeing anything. I'm like, okay, I'm interviewing, I'm doing all the work, Lord. I'm doing everything. I'm tithing. I'm interviewing, I'm networking, I'm trying everything. And I'm trying to be a good husband. I'm trying to do all this, but it's like, how can I do this when, money's going to run out? And I felt the Lord saying to me, like, be a good husband, love Tanya, don't worry about the money. I'll take care of that. I was so consumed with no money coming in that how could I ever do any of this? There's no jobs. It's the middle of the pandemic. There's another spike in the pandemic. No one's hiring. And I'm feeling like, again, down on myself. The self-talk is kind of like, I can't believe this is happening. I'm not good enough for this. I've tried this. I applied for 500 jobs, literally 500 jobs. Nothing's happening. I can't believe this. Like the only thing missing for this perfect life is just a job to provide the 9 to 5. And Lord, like, I know you said you're going to give me everything, but like, where is it going to come from? I don't see the plan. I don't see the vision. And I felt God say, after these novenas, praying, I'm sweating blood in prayer. Lord, like, where is the job? It's not. He goes, and I felt the Lord say, I have something for you. Draw closer to me and tithe. Okay, one client left. We're going to ride this client out. We're going to try to get some more clients. And then December 2020 comes, and, like, okay, here we go, like, trying to get this client. And then I felt the Lord, same thing, even more so. Tithe, draw closer to me, be a good husband. So I'm just, like, putting all my attention. I'm trying not to even think about money. I'm just putting my attention on being a good husband, loving Tanya, praying, trying to stay close to God, draw close to God. I'm doing that. I'm doing what you're saying, Lord. The middle of December comes, about to be Christmas. Last client says, hey, literally getting crushed by this pandemic. I have to drop you. I'm so sorry, Pete. It's been great to work with you, but I can't afford any more video production and marketing, so I have to drop you. I'll pay you out for the end of the month, but that's it. I can't afford you for the new year. Okay? That happens the middle of December. I get COVID a couple days later, and so I get COVID, lose the last client, and there's no jobs out there. Nothing. I have nothing, like zero. Like everything is now officially dried up. There's like nothing even out there. All of the websites, all the everything, they're not hiring anybody. So it's, about to be Christmas. It's about to be Christmas. Planned, people are getting COVID. We got COVID. Don't know what's going to happen. And I'm just sitting here in prayer one day, the end of 2020, like, Lord, like, literally, like, I have nothing left to offer you. I'm just here and I don't know what to do, but I don't know what to do. I'm here, like, I'm trying to draw closer to you. I'm trying to do this, and I felt the Lord say, I want you to tithe this month. I have something for you. Tithe. So, I tithed. The guy sent me a last paycheck that he sent me for 2020, got COVID, literally canceled Christmas plans, and I tithed. I tithed my last dollars. And in all honesty, I'll just for the transparency's sake, I tithed, and that put, I had less than $1,000 in my bank account. So less than $1,000 bank account savings, anything. That's it, and I tithed it. Again, thank God that Tanya's working. She was able to have a little bit of money coming in, but like that, what I had of all that money and everything I've done, worked, and through the years, I had less than $1,000. I only say that just to kind of illustrate the point. Maybe that's a little money, a lot of money for any of you, but that's it. And I had no jobs, no job prospects, no jobs, no clients, had COVID, Christmas is about to come up, and all I felt God is saying, just tithe, and I have something for you. And I'm literally I'm broken. I'm Lord, I literally have nothing to give. And the Lord's like, no, you give me your yes, and I'll give you 10x. Okay, so I tithe. Christmas happens. Christmas happens. People are like, great time to be together. I got COVID. No job. I'm worried, but I felt a release where I was just like, well, if this is the story, Lord, if this is the journey, I'm going to be on it with my wife, and I'm here, and I'm going to stay close to you, because all I can do is follow you at this point, and all I can do is believe in you. I've tithed every single month this year, and my money's gotten less and less and less and less, but I believe and trust that you have something for me. And so Christmas happens. December 26th, a job posting goes up for a company. I have an interview December 22nd. I have a second interview December 29th. And January 3rd of 2021, they offer me the job. In 1 week, I get a job. And I've been at that job ever since. I've been at the job for 2.5 years now. And it's been an incredible job where it's provided me security, paycheck, security, benefits, everything. I've been able to have a kid for super cheap because of incredible benefits. I've had that job. I've been able to thrive and succeed. And even through all of the economic turmoil, the company I'm at has been able to thrive. And God provided that. And I was, never ran out of money. I never had to make sacrifice, never had to skip a meal. God provided every physical need and some for me every step of the way. And he said he was going to. I felt him in prayer for over a year, say, I have something for you. You have to trust me. You have to draw close to me. And trust me, I tried everything. I tried every networking, again, tie in an interview. Oh, how you doing? And none of it seemed to work. But then out of nowhere, a job popped up, and it was perfect fit and everything. And I'm able to do really well over there. And they love me. And it's this great thing. And I look back and I say, well, thank God that I trusted in you, Lord, because I believe that you had something for me. And it was really, really hard. And I doubted so much of the way. I doubted so much of the way. But I look back, and what God was doing was saying, hey, I'm going to use a very intense experience with money on you, Pete, to be able to trust in me. So now I've had greater trust in the Lord with money, with other things in my life, because I've seen God work in my life in that area of money. I've seen God work in my life when I've trusted in him. And I've tithed every single month since that. I've tithed 10%, because now it's who am I to not tithe when I've seen the Lord work in that way? I'm going to tithe. And again, all of the money is God's money. We're stewards of that money. I'm a steward of that money. That's what I learned, is that, hey man, money comes, money goes. It's hard not to be really attached and really emotional about money, but the Lord's going to provide for us. The Lord's going to provide for our physical needs. And it's hard to believe that. But I went down that road where the train don't run with him, with our God, and he provided every step of the way. And now my kind of takeaway is, hey, I want to tell people about it, like all of y'all. I want to tell people that the Lord is going to provide. He's going to provide for us our spiritual, physical needs. And it's going to maybe hurt. It's going to be tough. It's going to be confusing. And we're not going to know how it's going to happen. But in one snap of God's finger, he can make stuff happen. He can move mountains. He can move jobs around. He can ask for, raises. Money can come in. So, we need to make sure that when it comes to money, that we're leaning on the Lord, that we're asking God. Like I was asking God. I wasn't just saying, hey, I'm good enough and I'm going to get a job and someone's going to see it one day. I was on my hands and knees saying, Lord, I want to just provide. I'll do anything. I'll do anything to get a job. And he said, tithe, give me 10%, and give me 10% when it really, 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 really hurts. And I did. And it's not because I'm so great. It's because God's great to me, and he showed me goodness in my life. And my little bit of tithing that one month, when in the spectrum of my life, it's not like I was on the streets. It just felt like, wow, maybe I'll end up on the streets if a job doesn't come. But the Lord provided. And so that has been a powerful testimony in my life, to knowing that, like, hey, like I need to trust that the Lord is going to satisfy me in all of my needs, my physical and spiritual needs. We know that the Lord is the only way that we will feel fully satisfied in our life. We know that Jesus is the only way that we will feel full security. Money, it will always be more. We'll always want a little more. We'll always need a little more. We'll always want a little bit more, just like the guy from the Bronx. We will all be that guy from the Bronx who says, that's a good amount, $500,000 is good. I need $850,000 though. That's actually good, but I need $1 million. We'll always want a little more. But we need to know that the Lord satisfies us. The Lord is going to take care of all of our spiritual and physical needs and satisfy us. And this is also a great tie-in, because this past Sunday was Corpus Christi Sunday. This feast of the church, which says, hey, like the gift that Jesus gave us was his body and blood in the Eucharist. And that is, Jesus gave a gift of himself to satisfy us. And we think, great, all right, the Eucharist, communion, as Catholics, we think this is great. We can, receive Jesus, but I still got to pay my bills. I still got to take care of these things in my life. And the Lord says, remember, draw close to me. I want you to receive me. That's my gift. And we think, okay, that's great, but what about these things? And when we draw close to him, the paradox is that when we draw close to him, he gives us those things. When we receive him, he gives us our physical things, that we're able to understand the trust that we need to have, that God will provide for us. And so it's like Corpus Christi is a good reminder that receiving Christ, drawing close to Christ, he is the one that can ultimately satisfy us, not money. Money might offer some fleeting satisfaction and some fleeting security, but only in Christ can we feel fully satisfied in our lives. Only in Christ will we be able to fully enter into a human life of salvation and security. It's not going to be from money. A hard lesson for all of us, a challenging lesson. LIV Golf's an example of that. The guy from the Bronx, the hospital, is an example of that. My journey with trying to find a job when I moved down to Texas is an example of that. It can be very hard to trust the Lord with money. But let's enter in more fully to the waters that Christ can satisfy us with. Let us drink deeply of these waters, and let's receive him, his body and blood, to understand that he is going to provide for us all of our physical and spiritual needs. Thank you all for listening and watching this episode. This was really fun for me to make. I felt very vulnerable telling that tithing story, but I know God wanted me to tell that to all y'all. Hopefully that can be a thing that can inspire you to tithe, or to be a confirmation to tithe, or however God wants to use it in your life. But yeah, thank you all so much for just checking in. I appreciate all of you so much. Hope to see you all soon. Peace.